Hello fellow sim racers. Today's video is, well, it's a bit of an experiment. The whole purpose of the second channel was to be able to play around with some different ideas without potentially harming the reach of the main channel. And today's video fits that mould nicely. I'm going to be building up a new wheel rim setup using some of Fanatec's new modular parts, as well as one of my old wheel rims, to test out some ideas that I want to incorporate into equipment review videos and some DIY projects I'm going to be undertaking in the future. So the plan then is to take this wheel rim, the Turn R20, and adapt it for use on my Fanatec equipment. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be using the button box, which is a Sim Racing Coach GT1 button box. We'll see how that goes. I'll show you the bits I've ordered now. So to make this all work, I've got the Fanatec Podium Hub. I've got the advanced paddle module, which I don't know if I'm going to use. I don't know if I'll be using the paddles from the Sim Racing Coach button box I was talking about earlier. And I've also got this button pack, which I think are the same ones that come with the old universal hub. I don't know exactly which configuration I'm going to use, so I'm going to just start trying to put things together and find out how it all works. And before anyone asks why I'm wearing gloves, I just don't want to ruin the Alcantara on the wheel rim. I mean, if you look at it, it's already quite worn from the 6 months of daily use. I think that'd brush out, to be honest, but I don't want to make it any worse. So, starting out with the Podium Hub, if I can get it out of the box. Quick start guide, won't be reading that. It is, well, it's pretty much what you expect. There we go, we got the quick release with a plastic stopper or screw in there, which I don't think we need with the DD1, and the Podium module. It also quite weirdly says core competence on the side of the box, which I'm not really sure what that's about. The DD1 wheelbase had force feedback redefined, which, you know, is quite a bold statement, but is Fanatec's core competence making hubs? I don't know. Next up, we've got the Podium paddle module, which I've got on my Formula rim that came with the DD1, and I was very, very impressed with this, so looking for... Ooh, that looks good. Got the different various paddles there with the carbon fibre and with the gold fleck in. That's very nice. And they've thoughtfully given you a bit of paper to pull this out. And then there's the shifter module and the clutches left and right. And some screws that you might need. A Barry Rowland video, this ain't. And finally there's these button clusters, which I really don't know if I'm going to need them. Yeah, they're not overly exciting. 3 buttons. I'm really not sure if I'm going to use these button clusters or not. I'm going to try and use the Sim Racing Coach button box because it's got all of the cool extra stuff on. But maybe we'll try and keep it neat and not have to use a USB cable. I really don't know yet. So, lots of cool bits, so should probably try and fit it all together. You might be wondering what the Fanatec Podium Hub actually does, and I was definitely one of those people to start with because it's really not very well explained on the Fanatec website. But basically, if you want to use any of the new Podium stuff... Oh, look, we've got a cat in the shop. That wasn't intended. Are you gonna go? Do you wanna... Okay. Let's try that again. Essentially, if you want to use any of the new Podium components, like the cool button module we've got here, the paddle module, or the Porsche button box with the display, and something they actually tease on their website, they say the Dataport C connector is for attaching Fanatec button or display modules. So there might be some display stuff coming from Fanatec in the future as well, which would be very, very much welcomed. But essentially it acts as a sort of both the brain of the Podium stuff and the quick release. Previously, if you wanted to use a third-party wheel on the Fanatec ecosystem, you used to have to try and get hold of one of the Fanatec quick releases and then buy an adapter of some description to make the USB functionality pass through, or you had to buy the Fanatec Universal Hub, which was sort of a bit bulky, and it wasn't a road I particularly wanted to go down with my wheels. But now the Podium paddle and shifter set exists, I think this is a more elegant solution if you want to use a sort of third-party wheel on Fanatec gear now. I've decided to assemble it in this order before putting the shifter paddles themselves on because I haven't really decided what the configuration is going to be yet. And I want to be able to offer everything up together to see how it's all going to sort of fit and feel before I commit to anything. So looking at this, I think I'm going to forego the Sim Racing Coach button box and use that on a separate wheel rim, so I can still keep using the OSW while I'm doing back-to-back testing. And I quite like how sort of clean this all looks. It's quite low profile. We'll see how it comes together though. I do quite like the look and feel of how sort of simple and stripped down this is, but you can see quite a lot of the workings from the front of the wheel, so I'm not sure how that's all going to work aesthetically when it's all put together, but we'll see. Now, of course, if I'm foregoing the button box, then I'm also going to need to put on the Fanatec button modules over the top, which I think will sit something like this, which, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I can live with that. Now, there's no guidance in the manual about how you're supposed to cable manage all of this lot, so I guess it's a case of plug it in and hope for the best. Now that's all together, I've hit my first snag. The Podium Hub doesn't come with any bolts to attach the wheel rim, and the bolts that I had for the previous wheel rim were long enough to accommodate the button box that go the whole way through and into the quick release behind it. So these clearly aren't going to work for a, try not to touch the Alcantara, but a 6mm bit of steel or whatever the Turn Racing rim is. So I've had to scavenge some bolts from my OMP rim, which is silver, and I think it would have looked a bit better with black bolts, but beggars can't be choosers. Now I've got the fun of getting everything to try and line up while trying to hold 9 different bits and record at the same time. The difficulty comes from trying to get the button modules to sit in place while sort of hanging the wheel over it. It comes with these little spacer washers as well, so I'm going to have to keep 6-7 parts in place while trying to screw it all together and film. Sounds simple. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be playing this next bit back in real time. So it turns out it's actually not all that fiddly if you just get the 4 bolts in place that use the spacers and then try and sort of slide in the button modules afterwards like this, so you can obviously decide exactly where you want them to be as well. I'm a bit concerned about all of the excess cable because there's really nowhere sensible to hide it inside the Podium Hub with all of the excess wiring from the paddle modules, so it'd be interesting to see what the solution for that is. But that's a problem for future Chris. And there we go. From the front, I think it looks pretty clean actually. I don't even mind the silver bolts. As you can see, I've managed to sort of tuck the cabling down behind the button modules, and that's staying put for now at least. If it becomes an issue, if it starts coming loose at all, I can probably do something with some zip ties or something, but we've got a nice bit of loop on the cable, so we're not straining the connector because the strain relief there is sort of hard molded plastic, so that's it's not doing a great deal from preventing it from getting kinked, so we do need a bit of a loop there. But so far so good, and they're actually looking pretty decent. I'm liking the look of this. I guess now we move on to the paddle shifters. So now I need to decide which of the paddle shifters to use. They ship 2 sets, a larger one, which is what's currently on the Porsche rim, and a smaller set which is on the Formula rims. Now the smaller set actually looks a little bit far inboard for me, and I do like the idea of these wider paddles. Unfortunately, it does make access to the upper paddles just a little bit tougher, but I'm only really using them for sort of look left and look right in general at the moment, so I think that'll be alright. So there we go. I think it looks pretty tidy actually. I'm very happy with how that all looks. Paddles are nice and accessible. Everything works well. Buttons are all easy reach. And above all, it means I can use my favourite wheel rim on the new Fanatec setup. I showed this comparison shot with the old button box on in the DD1 review video, but I just wanted to highlight just how much difference the extra 25 or 30mm or whatever it is on the Turn Racing rim makes over the Formula rim. You could probably see in the side-by-side shots in the Fanatec DD1 review video how much more you're sort of turning this wheel on your fingertips, which is great in a Formula style car, but in a GT style car I'd much rather have this rim, which is I think 305mm. So if anyone from Fanatec's watching, 305mm open wheel rim would be great. If not, leave it to Zach, because I think this setup's great. I also said I'd show you how this setup would work with the OMP Classic rim, and I think the answer is it's not great. I think if you just use the Podium Hub to attach it, then that would be okay. I think it would look decent, but I think, as you can see, the button boxes, well, you could move them around the top, just completely out of place on this kind of rim, and the paddles are just look totally ridiculous. Now, as for the paddle modules, it is usable, even with the dish of this kind of rim, but it's a little bit of a stretch, and frankly, without the turn rim in the way, this would look completely ridiculous. So I don't think it's really best suited to this kind of rim. That all being said, the Podium Hub does fit behind this classic style of rim and actually look a lot better put behind a classic style of rim than the old universal hub does. So if you're looking to attach a classic round style wheel or a drift wheel or something, I think the Fanatec Podium Hub might be a better shout. Now, before we get onto the driving, this is how it would work out with a Momo Mod 30 size rim. This one's from Motormech, but I think it's dimensionally pretty much identical, if I can get it lined up as best I can. Tiny bit wider than the turn rim, but paddles feel absolutely great, even with a bit of distance behind them. Button modules obviously are adjustable. I think would be very well paired. To be honest, if you're going to be going down that route, I think buying the Fanatec, I can't remember what they call it, it's the R500 rim, I think is this size and this shape with a sort of D-shaped Momo sort of affair. So that's probably a more cost-effective way than just buying all the parts. But if you've already got the rim, then yeah, I guess this route makes sense. So I can't believe I nearly forgot the most important bit, which is the Fanatec button cap set, which I probably shouldn't have bought because it's honestly is 30 euros for some plastic buttons and some stickers, but they do give you some tweezers, which yeah, that's not really anything. But actually, to be fair, you know, the stickers are really high quality and you do get a lot of them, and it's not as if there's, oh look, there's some for the wheel rim as well. Actually, you know what, I'll take it back. 30 euros is a bit expensive for some plastic button caps and some stickers, but it's probably actually worth it. Well, at least for me anyway. I was really ready to go in sort of whole hog and say, well, 30 euros is ridiculous for this, and you know, I don't know why I bought it. But now I think about it, you know, if you've spent thousands of pounds on your sim racing setup, then spending a little bit extra to make the rim look really professional, as opposed to throwing together some like Dymo tape or something, then maybe that's worth it. I think it is. So there we go. I'm pretty happy with the look and the feel of the wheel, and the driving experience with GT cars in particular is much improved from using the Formula rim, which is the only rim I previously had for the Fanatec setup. So all in all, very happy. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you again soon.